Hi Dan, what's the mood in the camp ahead of facing Luton tomorrow?
Positive. I don't think we're a team that are dwelling on results, certainly negative ones. So I think we're frustrated, obviously, with the results that have been of late. But we will go into the game positive, make no mistake, and that's the mentality we have as a group, and the mentality that is obviously set as a precedent by the manager. He will not have negativity going into the game. We'll make sure that we're raring to going up for it and looking to get 3 points for sure.
What was Nigel Pearson like after the Wycombe game? Because he had pretty strong words to say to us in the media afterwards, and I imagine he probably was not too happy in the changing room afterwards.
Obviously, I can't disclose exactly what was said, but he was certainly a frustrated figure, as there were 21 players in the dressing room that all had the same feeling, and we're obviously really disappointed with the way that game finished and the way we're currently unable to hold on to leads and protect leads. And bare minimum, we should have came out with a point, and we came out with none. So the gaffer and all of the players were all of the same feeling, that it was bitterly disappointing and frustrating, really.
Yeah, I was just saying to Nigel there before you, obviously it was quite a dramatic ending and not a happy one from a Bristol City perspective on Wednesday night. But you did finish that game with sort of 5 young players on the pitch, the likes of Hanno Masengo, only a teenager. Backinson was excellent in that game, only 22 years old. Even Sessignon at fullback, I think he's only 20. Obviously, Antoine, 21. Sekou 21 as well. So it's quite a few young guys in there. Does that mitigate the ending at all? Because they're maybe learning a lot of the time here as well.
They are learning, but they're not stupid. And I think they all know what the remit is going into a game like that, into the last knock-ins of a game where we had the lead and we didn't protect it well enough. We conceded. And then we've got a point to protect, if not going on and trying to regain all 3. And none of those players, I would say, are, yes, they're youthful, but none of them are naive enough not to know what the remit is for going into that situation. They've all been in that situation, maybe not in championship games specifically, but you look at your names you mentioned there. Antoine has now played 35, 40 championship games. Tyreek is probably not too far behind that. Hanno's must be approaching 100 games in the championship. And yes, they are young, but they have learned, and they've learned quickly, and you have to in the championship. However, I don't think that if you'd have had, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 37-year-olds in there, that the result would have been any different, or maybe something else would have happened. You know, I think obviously that's hindsight and trying to foresee something that wasn't the situation. So I don't think that it's the fault of youthfulness on the pitch. And as senior boys, we need to be making sure that whatever the message is to get, whether it get over the line as a point or to chase all 3, but certainly not to concede 2 in the last 20 minutes of a game. We need to make sure that we drum home the messages and the way we play on the pitch, because the manager can only do and say so much from the side of the pitch, and it's the players that are in that moment that can dictate what happens in the game. And as senior boys, we need to make sure that message is loud and clear for the youngsters, if they didn't know it already, which I'm sure they do.
How was Casey Palmer after the game the other night? Because obviously he was penalised, wasn't he, for the handball at the end there? And unfortunately, that's the second time in the last few weeks, because obviously there was the one at the Swansea as well. I mean, obviously it's a game of fine margins, and sometimes you get those decisions, sometimes you don't. Was he upset? I guess he was upset. How upset was he?
He was dejected after the game. Obviously, he's very emotional after the game. He's, in his opinion, I'm sure he believes that he's just cost his team a point. And I don't blame Casey Palmer. Casey Palmer isn't the reason we lost the game. Yes, maybe a contributing factor was the penalty, But if it wasn't that, it could have been something else that we may have conceded from. So I don't blame Casey Palmer, but he's come in yesterday, he trained well, and he had not forgotten about it, but he was moving on from the situation. And I'm sure if he's selected tomorrow, he will be the Casey Palmer that we all know, which is confident to get on the ball and make things happen. But of course, after the game, it's an emotional time when, you know, he feels like he's let his teammates down. But I think there's more to it than just Casey Palmer handling the ball inside the area. I don't blame him for the loss.
Yeah, he has been in some good form recently, actually. On yourself, obviously, it was a penalty right at the end there, and Akinfenwa scored. But against Sheffield Wednesday, Bannon had a penalty and you saved it. How do you prepare for penalties, Dan? Do you do a lot of research into where these guys usually take them, or are you more off the cuff and relying on instinct, maybe?
There's a portion of both attributed to the research of taking penalties. And Akinfenwa, ironically, had taken one either side. And the homework that Pat Mountain and I do before games, and the feeling I get at a period of time in the game, whether it be something that's totally instinctual or whether it be something that I see in the run-up that may indicate that a penalty taker is gonna strike the ball a certain way, are all contributing factors as to what way I would dive. And, you know, obviously, thankfully for Wycombe, that I dived the wrong way on that occasion. But obviously, prior to that, the Bannon penalty was an educated guess based on homework, and it was the same with Akinfenwa. But obviously, the quality that is in the Championship, the players can change their minds at the last second. And you see the likes of, for example, Daniel Johnson. We did a hell of a lot of research into his penalties, and I think 16 out of 17, the goalkeeper had gone the wrong way, which just shows you the quality and the thought that the players put into taking penalties as well as the goalkeepers.
Yeah, there's a real skill and technique, a duel almost there in those situations, I guess. Just on, obviously, it's not good form at the moment, just one win in the last 10 games, I believe. I wanted to ask you what the players think about the injury situation this season. I think there's still around 13 or 14 players out injured at the moment, and obviously there's been a lot of injury problems across this season. How do the guys view it from inside the changing room?
Well, we know we've lost a lot of quality due to injury, and I think if you would have said to a couple of younger boys that they would have played the massive games that they've played looking over the course of a season, I think they probably wouldn't have agreed with you, because there is a lot of quality that perhaps would have started in front of them due to age and experience, as we're talking about before. So, you know, the likes of Andy Vyman, Chris Martin, Nathan Baker, Joe Williams, Liam Walsh are all players, and I apologise if I've missed anyone off that list, but they're all players that would, I'm sure, be competing for starting 11 places in our team. Alfie Mawson, another one that, you know, started the season off really strongly, recovered from a knee injury, and unfortunately was set back again. But we've got so many players that perhaps wouldn't have expected the game time that they've had due to the amount of injuries that we've had. But I don't think there's anything in the dressing room that there's no inquest in the dressing room or no blame being pointed. I think a lot of it is unfortunate. Obviously, I'm not a physio, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the ins and outs of all these injuries and why they may occur. Obviously, it's frustrating because we've had to obviously travel with a lot of youngsters at the time, and we've not been able to rely on senior pros at times. But the youngsters have earned their chance in the team and on the bench. You know, you look at the 23s that have come up and been on the bench and made their debuts this year. They deserve that. They've trained really, really well. And who said they wouldn't have made their debut even if the senior boys are fit? But obviously we're hoping for a little bit more luck next year, and hopefully all the boys that are injured will come back and we'll be able to help affect the team in a positive way.
Just in general terms, Dan, you're obviously put up here as a spokesperson for the team. There's another 13 or 14 players out of contract in the summer. How does the squad and players generally, maybe not even at Bristol City, but generally look at this time of the season? It's obviously part and parcel of football that your contract comes to an end, and maybe you don't know what's going to be happening next. But I guess obviously everybody, to a degree, is playing for their future at the moment.
100%. That's the way I look at it. Whether you're out of contract, in contracts, obviously, and myself, I've got 2 years left, so I'm not in the same boat as some of the boys who are out of contracts in a matter of weeks, but they are playing for their futures. And whether it be consciously or subconsciously, I'm sure there are boys that are, concerned about their futures. The boys have got mortgages to pay. Boys have got kids to feed. And I don't mean to be playing a violin there, but it's all relative, isn't it? There's lads that are at the moment don't have a job in a matter of weeks, and with the uncertainty and the precedence of times that we're in at the moment with COVID, obviously it's not a normal out of contract scenario for those boys. So I would personally, if I was in that position, there's no doubt about it, I'd be concerned based on my future, of course. But at the same time, I don't see any of those boys not giving us everything, and not training properly, not preparing properly. The phrase "on a beach," I don't see that in the changing room. There's none of that. We wouldn't accept that. I certainly wouldn't accept that as an individual. I think there's boys that are concerned, of course, but they are also playing for their futures, and they know that at the end of the season they will have a conversation, I guess, with the football club, and whenever the football club sees fit, they will hold talks with those individuals.
Yeah, just finally then, obviously we've mentioned there about the bad form and everything, and it is unacceptable, I think, to a lot of fans, and they can't understand some this bad run the club is on. And obviously, to a degree, the result and ending of the game at Wycombe was embarrassing to an extent. How does the club snap out of that and turn this around? Because it's a sustained bad run of form now.
It is. It's been a very different season, and it's easy to blame injuries. It's easy to blame COVID. It's easy to blame the change of manager. But I think us as players need to address the form on the pitch first and foremost. And if we can go into the summer on the back of 3 positive results in the last 3, then I'm sure that goes a good way into having some positivity going into the summer, into next season. But at the same time, we are fully aware that this season on the whole hasn't been good enough, and that's not good enough from individuals, not good enough from us as a team. And I totally understand frustration of the fans. I mean, I'm active on social media. I'm not always posting, but I see things on social media. I see the frustrations. I'm aware that obviously the fans aren't happy, and I understand, totally understand, because as a player, I'm not happy with the form in the same vein. I'm not Bristol born and bred, so I'm not a diehard fan as some of the people are in this area, and the culture that the football club has it's almost like a religion for some of the fans in this area. But I totally respect that, and personally, my responsibility as a player is to have pride in the shirt, and us all as any representative of this football club is to have a pride in the football club and in the shirt, and to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get this club where we believe that we can achieve. But at the moment, the idea is obviously finish the season strong, and that's where our focus remains.
Good luck for Sunday. Cheers, Dan. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, mate.